Are you thinking of changing your career path? Now, this can be quite challenging for many of us, depending on your current career. Also, depending on whether or not you are already familiar with, for example, information technology, or you're brand new, meaning that you have no idea as it relates to information technology. Nonetheless, you want to transition, you want to get yourself into cybersecurity. Now, what I've actually developed is what I call my roadmap, and this is my approach. And there are various approaches that you can actually take depending on the individual that is actually providing that level of mentorship and guidance. So this is not cast in stone. This is just an approach that you can actually use to guide your overall process. And there are many resources uh, that are also available that I will place a link in the description that you can also look at in terms of getting further guidance. Now, in this roadmap transition into cybersecurity, then the first thing I think is very important is to do a self-assessment. Look at, and as it relates to your self-assessment, then you're looking at the why, the what, and the how. So as it relates to the why do you want to transition to cybersecurity? What is currently happening with within your career? Secondly, what current skills and experience do I have? That's very important in terms of deciding the level of skills and training that you need to move forward. Secondly, how? How will I transition? Am I going to be upskilling, meaning gaining additional skills? Am I willing to do the work that is required to gain these skills in terms of putting in the necessary time and dedication? Am I going to be networking, building my network on whichever platform? It could be on LinkedIn, getting myself associated with a group of people who are already in cybersecurity and have that requisite knowledge and experience to guide me along the way. Am I going to be rebranding myself in terms of my representation on the various platforms so that I can now be seen as a cybersecurity professional? Am I going to be seeking mentorship and also internship? So these are things for you to consider. So once you have completed your self-assessment, and then the next thing is to do your gap assessment. And your gap assessment, look at where you are now, having done your self-assessment, and where it is that you want to go, and looking at those differences in terms of how it is that you can make the necessary changes to get to where you want. So where am I now in my career, which you would have established in your self-assessment, and where do I want to go as it relates to my career? Then you would have made a note of um, answering those questions. So once that is done, then you decide your cybersecurity category. So cybersecurity is a wide field, and the best way to look at it is to categorize cybersecurity in terms of the various branches of roles that you can actually enter into as it relates to transitioning. So you have your offensive cybersecurity, you have your defensive aspect of cybersecurity, and you also have your GRC aspect of cybersecurity. So once you are aware of these areas, then the next thing is to decide the specific role based on these categories. And the roles that I will be introducing you to are not exhaustive. So there are a number of additional roles to these roles. So these are some of those, top roles that you can actually think of or that you will come across within the industry. So as it relates to offensive security roles, let us look at these. So here we have a number of roles as it relates to your offensive security. We're talking about a penetration tester. You could decide on that role. This is someone who conducts authorized simulated attacks on systems to find vulnerabilities, etc. And then you have your red team, you have vulnerability assessor, you have ethical hacker, and the list goes on. And these are some of the skills that are required: ethical hacking techniques, exploitation methods, security assessment tools, and the list goes on. Then you have your defensive security roles. And in your defensive security roles, then you recognize we have a number of different roles. You're talking about your security analyst, your incident responder, your security operations center analyst, your security architect, DevSecOps engineer, forensic analyst, malware analyst, threat intelligence analyst, you have your cyber threat hunter, cloud security engineer, cloud security architect, and the list goes on. Some of those skills include intrusion detection and response, your threat hunting, security monitoring and analysis, your security system design and architecture, and the list goes on. Then you have your governance, risk, and compliance. So these are some of the roles. Compliance analyst, you can decide to become a risk manager, security auditor, security consultant, or security advisor, chief information security officer, a security manager, security director, cloud compliance specialist, and a number of additional roles exist within that domain. Then these are some of the skills. I mean, being knowledgeable of various compliance and regulatory requirements, standards, being able to do your risk assessment, develop security policies, leadership and management, strategic planning, cloud compliance and governance, and a wealth of additional skills along that particular role. So these are some of the roles that exist, and this is a roadmap that you can actually use to help in this making that decision. Now, as it relates to certification or study path, this is super critical for many of us. Now that we are aware of these roles and these domains within cybersecurity, then the next thing is how do I achieve these skills? And one very quick way that you can actually go about doing this is to ask your AI or GPT of choice, and there are so many. You have your Chat GPT, you have Google Bard, and the list goes on. So choosing that, then you can simply create a certification path based on these desired roles. So whichever roles you want, you simply select a role, and you could ask your favorite AI to create a role for you. So example, in this case, using ChatGPT from create a certification path for becoming a security analyst. So let us look quickly at what this looks like. So once you're in your AI of choice, in this case, I'm using ChatGPT, then you simply go to your prompt and you select your message. Your prompt that you want to create. So in this case, you have create a certification path for becoming a security analyst. And right away, it gives you an outline. And this is just a guideline. This is not something that is, as I normally say, cast in stone. It's just to provide you with to say, okay, well, all right, this is what I can do. This is what I need to do. It's not necessarily a case whereby you need to be doing all of these according as is listed here, but at least you have an idea to say, all right, these are some of the skill set and training paths or certification that I need to acquire. So not to mention the fact that having place yourself amongst people who actually have the requisite skill for the role that you desire, then they can also better guide you to say, okay, no, you do not necessarily need to have a degree, or you do not necessarily need to have a CompTIA or A plus XYZ, depending on the role that you're going to be doing. However, there are a number of fundamental knowledge that is definitely requisite for actually getting into cybersecurity. And one of those is to actually have a good understanding of security principles, understanding of operating systems, networking concepts. That's very important as it relates to cybersecurity and those fundamental principles surrounding risk management as a whole. So in this case, if we're looking at becoming a security analyst, it says becoming a security analyst typically involves acquiring a combination of relevant education, certification, and practical experience. In this case, it requests or it recommends doing a your bachelor's degree, possibly, depending on your current um, status as it relates to your career accomplishments. Then it recommends doing your entry-level certifications, which covers all of these laying the foundation. Then your core security, cybersecurity certification. So we're talking about your CompTIA Security Plus, your CEH, those intermediate certifications, these which are more advanced, your CISSP, your CISM, CISA, CSA, and the list goes on to more advanced continuing education certifications. And very importantly, as it relates to those practical experience. So alongside certification, gaining practical experience is crucial. So you want to consider, as I'd mentioned earlier, internships, you're looking at those entry level job roles, and of course, doing your lab exercises, your simulations to develop your skill set as it relates to the necessary career path or role that you want to get into. So let me know, show you a couple of additional resources that can also aid in your career path, as well as developing those additional skills that are required to transition into cybersecurity. All right, great. So in addition to that career roadmap that I've actually introduced you to help in your career transitioning process, then you can also jump over to my, well, on the YouTube, CyberJA YouTube channel, which you're currently watching this video in terms of, I'll be placing a link in the description for you to easily access these videos. So I have actually done a video, very important, interesting tool or resource that you can actually use to help you to get a realistic cyber career roadmap tool. Um, I think developed by CISA to help you in deciding on the relevant path and the necessary training and skill set that you need to transition into your particular career path. So this is a very wonderful resource in terms of a guide for your career development. So definitely please check the description of this video for all of these links. In addition, I'll be also pasting a link to a cybersecurity skill roadmap that's is developed by SANS that can also help you in that process as well. And I've also developed a comprehensive guide as it relates to pivoting into cybersecurity that gives you an overall 360-degree in-depth understanding of all the necessary things that you want to be thinking of as it relates to getting into the cybersecurity space. And in addition to this, then I will also be placing a link to my resources that can definitely help in building your cybersecurity growth and development. So here you have access to all the various podcasts, conversations with security professionals, as well as various nuggets to help in your career development. I also have a channel that is devoted or dedicated to GRC specifically. And then, very importantly, we are talking about all of these amazing resources in terms of all of these courses, and these are Udemy courses. I mean, these are a number of free courses that you can also access as it relates to building your career. And these are courses that I've actually designed specifically from a practical experience perspective to help you to have those requisite skills that organizations are looking for from a cybersecurity professional to actually work within their environment to help protect the overall business operation. So you definitely want to check these resources out. And we are talking about things such as practical zero trust implementation. The list goes on to practical compliance management best practices for cybersecurity and GRC professionals. We're talking about practical assessments, number of assessments that you can actually learn to execute from a cybersecurity and GRC perspective, implementing various controls, developing your overall cybersecurity programs in your organization, deep fake defense, and the list goes on. So in a nutshell, guys, there you have it in terms of your overall cybersecurity transition guideline or roadmap to help you as it relates to transitioning into the cybersecurity domain. So definitely stay tuned for future recordings. And of course, do not forget to share and subscribe with your network.